Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey. And even more specifically, we focus just on the great nation that is Canada. I'm your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick. And I'm joined every episode by lovely and talented co-host... Whoop!
Grant.
I did a ball, you did a pen! Oh, come on.
I saw you looking around. I was like, he's gonna do it.
What do I have, a calculator, a ball, and a tape measure?
Well, everybody knows I keep a tape measure at my desk.
Yeah.
Record-keeping purposes when I'm out watching my adult videos.
It shot that far. All right. That's gross.
On the topic of big schlongs, you know a movie I watched last night? The Night Before.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
No.
Anyways, it's worth checking out. Great Christmas movie. Great adult Christmas movie.
Okay.
They're teasing James Franco's monster hog in it, and it's probably the funniest scene in the movie. Worth checking out if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I feel like we watched, was it The Office Christmas Party? Like, similar vein to that. I think that was Jennifer Aniston and that guy. I don't know his name.
One of the handsome ones, I imagine.
The lead from Arrested Development.
Jason Bateman.
Yeah, that's the guy. Yeah, it's not bad. I imagine The Night Before is probably like similar vein to that. So cool. All right, maybe I'll check that out.
Like low key, this time of year, Christmas movies at night or Christmas shows, I cycle through like The Office, like the show The Office. Their Christmas episodes. Community's got a few good ones.
Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been doing. Myself, we also watch Christmas movies. Doing some cleanup on some like big movies we haven't seen. Like we watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, Top Gun. What else were you going to try and get? Like the new Jurassic Park movie was kind of not on my radar.
I'm ashamed to admit it. Movies have taken a backseat for me over the last little while. Mm-hmm. I haven't even seen the Batman yet, and it's killing me because I watched that trailer for like, I would say at least 500 times. I was like, this movie's going to be so good, and I still haven't seen it. So
yeah, they seem like big commitments because like it'd be nice you sit down and you have an hour and a half, and I'm like, 2 hours? Like, who has that much time?
Have you heard about this new Avatar flick too?
No.
Oh my god. I want to say it's at least 3 hours. Like it is a fucking time commitment and a half. It might even be longer than that. Like it's a thick movie.
So like
thick with 2 C's.
3+, plus you're thinking commute, you show up early, get your popcorn to get your seat, you got to watch your 40 minutes of commercials that they'll throw at the end. So like you're looking at like a 6-hour outing.
Yeah, use a sick day. Go catch a matinee. You'll be done by supper time.
Holy smokes, look at that.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. So, we didn't have a show last week. We had some technical difficulties, which we've resolved, so yay! And I think based on scheduling, this might be your last show you got with us for a little while? 2 weeks?
2022. That could be, this is it. We're the end of 2022, a Canada Puck Podcast 2022 comes to a dramatic close today. I don't know why, but like for me, years always kind of like hockey seasons mean more than actual years to me. Like if you want to ask me about a time in my life, I will cycle back to that hockey year and I'll think, oh, where were you in 2009, 2010? I was like, well, I was in the apartment. Philly played Chicago in the Stanley Cup Finals. And then I just work backwards from there.
I mark lots of my life based on hockey events, too. I'm like, when did that happen? Where was I? What was I doing? Right? Like, what basement was I sitting having a beer in kind of thing? Very, very similar. So, cool. Glad we have, like, similar sports calendars.
Well, I don't know if there was ever a doubt we were on the same wavelength, but
yeah.
Irrespective, the year is coming to an end, and some people will be celebrating, and other people will treat it just like another day.
Yeah, all in all, wasn't the worst year. We've seen better, but it wasn't horrendous when you compare it to the previous couple. So there you go.
It would be a good glass half empty podcast. You know how everybody do like top 10 favorite things or top 10 movies? We should do the 10 worst moments of our year and then just sit in here and stew. Maybe this is a next year thing, but
okay.
I think it'd be a good parody or a good satire.
Ooh, yeah. Like, I've watched... And, like, I love terrible movies. So I could do a top worst movies of the year list. Hands down, no problem. Like, I've got that thing locked in February. Like in Amazon Prime, you scroll to the horror section, you move over a couple, and you're like, last house on the left that they left yesterday. And I'm like, that sounds like a flick. I'm going to watch them afternoon.
That was an oddly specific title. What was that god-awful series? Oh, my God. Oh, that's going to drive me crazy.
Okay.
But I remember you liked it for the parody of it, but your mom actually liked it. And I can't remember, was it like Sand Monsters? Or
Tremors. Oh, no, I love
Tremors.
Tremors is great.
Tremors is great. Maybe Tremors, the original, is great, but Tremors 7 and 8 loses some of the shine.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, and that's actually very, very true. The first, like, even the second one isn't the end of the world, but then after that, you're like, oh, this is unfortunate. And yeah, I think we have owned every single DVD box set imaginable. That's just like, you see it, you're like, there, Christmas present's done for Mom. All right.
But anyway.
There you go. Some Kevin Bacon in our life is what we need. If this is your first show, welcome. Sometimes we talk sports. Sometimes we have banter, and you get a peek behind the hosts' lives. What kind of a show would do that? We're going to run through headlines. We're going to check in with all our favorite Canadian teams, see how they're doing. See what the last couple of weeks have brought them. We've got some gambling advice, some fantasy advice. We're going to make fun of NHL.com's fantasy picks, and go from there. I've been keeping tabs, by the way, so it sucks to be you, NHL.com.
Oh no, you got a running tally on how terrible their picks are. I just can't wrap my head around this new method of this person might get an assist. Well, no fucking shit, NHL.com. This person should be on your shot radar. Everybody's gonna get a fucking shot, man. There's 30 of them a game.
All right, so let's look at it today. I got to write these down at some point, so I'll be able to do that after the show. We made fun of them, Grant, 2 weeks ago. I wrote down who do they have. They said Jarek McCann likely to have a goal. Guess what? He did. I think it was like a 4-1 affair. Erik Karlsson is going to have an assist. Guess what? Ding, ding, ding. Shots on goal, Elias Pettersson. 4 shots on goal. It's not bad. And Sergachev to get a power play point. And guess what? They banged it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who's the idiot now?
I mean, I was always the idiot, but I thought that I had somebody down on my level. Apparently not. Oh, God. Well, way to make me eat my words early this week.
So last week we didn't have a show, and I was like, oh, I'll keep tabs anyways, right? See how we did. So Cole Caulfield to have a goal. Guess what? They're 5 for 5. No problem. Quinn Hughes to have an assist. They registered 0 points. So, Seth Jarvis to get a point. There was 3 goals scored in the Carolina game. Not a single point for poor Mr. Seth Jarvis. And then you want shots on goal? Who do you look to? You go to the back end of the New York Islanders. You get Noah Dobson, because he's going to get a lot of shots on goal. And he did. He got 1 shot on goal. So they were doing pretty well, and then they fell off a little bit. So who do they got today? They have Ovechkin for a goal. It's not terrible. We have Elias Pettersson for an assist. Tage Thompson for a power play point against the Arizona. Maybe. And then shots on goal, Jonathan Marchessault for the Vegas Knights.
Huh. Well, we'll see how it all plays out. It makes me a little nervous, but we can get to that later. Also, you deserve some credit for being on the Tage Thompson train before anybody else.
Oh,
that guy's taking off, man.
That day, whatever that was, I picked him up for, it was like $4,000, and he went off for his 50 points. I don't think he's been below $10,000 since then. So,
no, and it's an ideal spot for the Buffalo Sabres tonight. Arizona on the second night of back-to-back. But anyways,
cool.
More on that later.
All right, so that's our making fun. I will before I close that window, I will write those down so we can make fun of them in the new year. Speaking of headlines, 10 minutes into the show, we're just getting into headlines. Look at this banter we have. We're so playful.
It's the time of year.
That's that time of year. So, we got no one in the bottom 6 for Canadian teams. But, if we scroll up to 26 overall, we get the Ottawa Senators. How have the Ottawa Senators been the last 2 weeks?
Truculent, maybe? Maybe it's just Brady Tkachuk who's truculent, but my God, that man does some shit, and it's pretty cool to see.
Mm-hmm.
We don't get a really good picture in Western Canada, or really good there's no structure around the Ottawa Senators in Western Canada. Maybe not even anywhere in Canada, because the Leafs really, I'm sure, dominate Ontario and the eastern part of the country. But Brady Tkachuk is doing some shit, man. And it pains me to say this, Matthew Tkachuk along the same lines. There are very few people in the league in today's NHL who can muck it up but still be better than a point per game player. And both of those both the Tkachuk brothers are top 10 in PIMS and also averaging better than a point per game. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's solid. And my frisky little Ottawa Senators, I enjoyed them before kind of the off-season hype. I know I've shit on them a little bit in the last little while, right? But I do enjoy the core of the Stritzel and the Norris and the Tkachuk. I think these guys are, I don't want to say like generational players, but above average, right? Like these are the kind of the dogs you want in the fight. They're the kind of fun fan favorites that guys can kind of wrap their head around. So I think when they start producing, right, and if they're not overshadowed by the Giroux and the Debricants coming in, that kind of steal their thunder. And that was kind of my greatest fear, was wrecking that chemistry that young core had. And I think we saw the disruptions early on. Was it going to happen anyways? Maybe, but I don't know. I think chemistry is so important in hockey. I don't like when I see nice things I enjoy, kind of get just ruined for ruin's sake, right? Because some GM somewhere is bored and decides to, I don't know, play fantasy GM for the day, right?
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I don't know what to expect with Ottawa this year. I still think they have it. Maybe it's not this year. Maybe this is one of those growing pain years like we chatted about, a couple months ago now, where we ranked them as a team to develop young talent. One of the few teams to develop young talent. But at the same time, we've seen this team be competitive.
Yeah.
And maybe it's part of the process.
Yeah, but like there's kind of a bad spot too, right? Like that, we'll get into it. But if you looked at their division, how do you become top, like getting top 5? Getting even to the wild card is tough, right? Like it's just, East is very, very, very top heavy. So, well, keep growing, keep developing. I saw Cam Talbot was back. I saw some highlight package this week. So maybe the fact that they have an actual NHL level quality goaltender coming back into the fold maybe helps cheer things up a little bit. And I don't know, maybe they're trending upwards. If we keep scrolling upwards, speaking of that, we get to 24th overall. The 8th worst team is the Vancouver Canucks. The only time I pay attention to them is if I'm scrolling at like 8:15 and I see the Canucks are down a couple goals, or up a couple goals, sorry, I will bet on the other team just instinctually at this point, because I'm like, well, that just seems like an easy bet. Like a 2-goal lead for the Vancouver Canucks is nothing. They suck.
Yeah, I can't say I really invest anything in the Vancouver Canucks, but I will say this. The other day I was out doing some Christmas shopping, came across a clearance rack of NHL jerseys. Maybe it wasn't a clearance rack, it was a sale rack of NHL jerseys. And it was all the new Adidas third-string jerseys, or whatever they call them this year. I'm actually kind of impressed with the Canucks. Their logo or alternate jersey, whatever you want to call it. But it's like this kind of lumberjack-looking guy. And the color scheme's awesome, but what really sold me on it was the number patch right up here. So you got this Canuck-looking guy, and then you got the numbers right here. Or maybe it was on this side, sorry. And I just dug it. And that would be, I would say, the highlight of the Vancouver Canucks for me this week.
All right. Well, we have a rule we can just pass, other than Grant's kind of likes your jerseys. And I bet against you when you have multiple goal leads, because you suck. You suck. Oh, and we move up to, wow, look at, we're murder's row here, guys. 23rd from the bottom. Or from the top, I suppose. Not from the bottom there. What, 9th? 10th. 10th worst team, Montreal Canadiens.
Montreal Canadiens. What did I see them do this week? It's escaping me. What are your thoughts? Let me take a quick peek here. Jog my memory.
So I know we were going to do a segment tweet of the week. Somebody, I think it was an Ottawa Senators fan. They played Montreal this week, and the wife went out of the way to make a sign that said, Leafs suck. So, again, we live rent-free in your head. I don't think about you at all. I don't care what you do, Ottawa or Montreal. You don't affect me at all, so you're welcome.
Wow. It was the loss to the Ducks. I was like, my God, how do you lose at home to the Ducks? I get that. And maybe they were coming back from a road trip, but irrespective, man, like that's a tough loss, especially to get walloped by the worst team in the league on home ice.
It was closer. So in the game, they were down 2-0 after the first period. I saw that. I put some money on Montreal because I was like, the Ducks suck. Like, you can come back. I think they did tie it at 1 point. Anaheim went ahead, and then there was 2 empty net goals at the end of the game. So it was a bit of a closer affair, right?
That's fair. I was just following along in the box score. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, it didn't pass the sniff test for me. But this team still, I've talked about it all year. This team puts together good offensive efforts, but their goaltending is shit. Like, it is just like, the worst.
Yeah.
But
I alluded to it before. I like their core. I like the Caulfields. I like the Docks. I like the Suzukis, right? Those 3 pieces are great. The rest of the team is kind of dog shit, right? They're one of those ones I go through Cap Friendly and I look at their team and they've just got so much middling talent that's overpaid. I think it's going to be a bit of a process for them to get out of this current iteration of what they are, right? Like, it's going to take some quality work. They're going to have to play really well, get really hot. They're going to need a lot of cap space to open up randomly and some teams to absorb it or something, right? Like, it's going to be an uphill battle, but they've got some nice pieces, right? I don't think they're as frisky as the Senators in my mind, right? They seem a little too French for my liking, but...
So I will say this, and maybe this is the best way to illustrate how I feel about the Montreal Canadiens. A couple of years ago, before they made their Stanley Cup run, I was singing Joel Edmondson's praises. I was like, this was the signing. Mm-hmm. He came in, he was going to play second line minutes. He's got great underlying metrics, and he did exceptionally well for them and was a big part of the playoff success as well. However, the departure of Shea Weber and Jeff Petrie has moved this guy into the limelight, and all of a sudden it's like the Montreal Canadiens are trying to do the most with the least. It's like, I agree there's some missing parts, and like, it was just, and it's akin to their goaltending situation. Oh, we got Jake Allen, who could be a 1B backup to Carey Price. Carey Price gets injured, and then all of a sudden these like secondary, tertiary guys are just getting pushed all the way up the depth chart, and I don't know. You're right. They need to tweak the roster, but they are competitive, and that's kudos to Martin St. Louis because he's got the team firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, and I think you might have this season, maybe even next year, to just be competitive, get these kids points, get them the talent, and try and collect draft picks, right? And there's going to be a team somewhere that's giving up Debercant for a second, right? So you're going to be able to bring in pieces because NHL GMs are kind of like they're actually the worst people at their jobs, like publicly, that we could watch them how they do their jobs, and like most NHL GMs are just absolutely just atrocious, right? So
this is why I think we should run a team. And we should start with fantasy team, but eventually, like Theo Epstein, he basically started as the janitor for, what was it, the Red Sox. He kind of gradually made his way up.
Oh, not the sexual predator Epstein. Okay, all right, cool. I was like, wait, where are you going with this?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. You know what? I'm not going to say it. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I got to say about the
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I agree. So any custodial jobs where's a nice place to live? Florida? Could I do it? I don't think I could be a Florida guy. I think it'd be too sticky.
Florida's the worst, man. I fucking hated it.
Okay.
You can't escape the heat. I was thinking maybe like Denver's lovely this time of year.
All right, cool. So we're just gonna move. I'm gonna move from cold to cold. Good job, me. Where's my camera?
Moving to American Calgary.
That sounds. Oh God. All right, so we got Buffalo Sabres at 22. I thought they were better. Huh. I really stopped betting on the Buffalo Sabres. Huh. I thought you were a much better squad. All right, St. Louis. Oh, there we go. 20th from the top. We got the Calgary Flames, who have separated themselves a little bit from. I think they've actually dropped. How are the Calgary Flames doing? I kind of feel like they suck. And now, I've heard a lot of, or seen a little bit of vitriol about Jonathan Huberdeau this year, where his kind of attitude has changed. He's not playing very well. He's not trying hard. He's not fitting into the system. He's not tailoring his game to Sutter's system. He's not playing well with his teammates. Maybe his success was just a Barkov, like a production or a product of playing with Barkov. And he signed for another 8 years after this. So I knew it was a bad idea. Kadri slowed down a little bit. At one point, he was on pace for over 100 points this year. Right now, he's playing on a 60-point season. That's not bad. Like, sure, Nazem Kadri, if you're the second center on a team, that's awesome. Maybe we need to point fingers more on the Huberdeaus and Lindholms, right? Those guys need to step up a little bit. But Calgary, what's going on other than a lot of regrets? 8 years of regrets coming up.
Yeah, they the Flames were, maybe it wasn't. It was the Flames front office was praised for their shrewd off-season dealings after, losing basically 2 franchise players and trying to call an audible.
Yeah, they cut their arm off and they put a nice Band-Aid on it. It was Dora the Explorer. Great.
But what stood out for me this week, so when teams come to town, it's always they either come to Edmonton and then travel to Calgary or vice versa. Early this season, it's been more Edmonton first, Calgary second. And this week, the St. Louis Blues, off an overtime win against the Oilers the night before, came in and just fucking blew the Flames out of the water. I was like, what kind of, how are you not prepared for this? Like, you get a Blues team that fucking sucks at defending, and they're tired, they've traveled, you've been at home, and you still get you get fucking spanked in front of your home team crowd. I don't know what's going on with Calgary, but it's not working.
Yeah, there you go. You think maybe, and I live in Calgary. It's been a bit of a harsh atmosphere. Speaking of Florida and Colorado, that's weird that we picked both those locations to potentially move to. I would think coming from a Colorado, which is a little bit colder, to a Calgary maybe is not as bad of a, but poor Huberdeau and his family, right? There's these kids that have only known beach life. Right, his wife gets to go walk down the beach every day, suntan, and now it's minus 30 for a week, and she has to learn how to shovel snow. Well, maybe things just aren't great there. I don't know what to tell you. Calgary, I'm sorry, but I think that magic that Gaudreau and Tkachuk brought to your franchise for the last 8 years or whatever it was, 7 years, you just kind of overcame all the bad decisions, might be catching up with you.
And this is where it turns up Mick and Grant here, because like I was saying, we were talking about earlier, we can get in to the arena, I would assume sometime in January for probably $15. And then we could eat all the pocket dogs we want. Do you know how many pocket dogs I could eat in Flames game?
So this is a morbid question, I guess, to ask or bring up. I mean, it's just the world we live in. When was the last time you went to the Saddle Dome?
Oh, man. It's been a while.
I went to the Hitmen game right before COVID kicked in. I think we had tickets in the January or something like that. We went to a Hitmen game. And then I think I took edibles at a Flames Columbus game or something. Maybe that fall as well. Kind of right before everything kind of set in and we got locked down. So I haven't been since 2019.
Yeah, I may have snuck a game in once, but you know what? I don't think I did. I think this has been, 2000. I don't even think I was there 2019. I was probably 2018, 2019. Probably early 2019 or end of the 2018-19 season.
Okay. Well, so what we're saying is the Flames are going to suck, but we're going to profit because we're definitely going to some cheap game at some point. So I'll start looking at tickets at some point when one jumps out and I'm like, oh, we can go under in double digits for the two of us. It's not bad.
Honestly, anything second level for my highlight, $18 to watch Jaromir Jagr play. I was in second bowl. That's the new standard.
Yeah.
Second bowl, $18.
Okay, cool. All right, that's what we'll keep our eye on. So, yay! Florida at 19. Man, there's some good teams at the bottom of this list. Wonder who's coming up. Detroit, Colorado, Washington at 16, and the Edmonton Oilers. They're a teenager. They're 14. It's not horrendous. I feel like they had kind of a rough start. How have the Oilers been doing the last couple weeks?
well, Stuart Skinner is fully entrenched as the team's starting goaltender. And I've always had concerns with that. The longevity of the season, the guy never being a number one in the league. We're paying his backup $5 million a year to not do anything, basically. Granted, they did win with Soup and Net. It was the second night of a back-to-back. Was it against Nashville? I think that was a Soup win, and that happened since the last time we talked. But otherwise, I would say it's been status quo for the Oilers, who continue to be attached to different, whether it's defensemen or they just appear to be the most active in the trade rumor market, where rumor mill, where people are just talking about moves they can make to improve their franchise. And I think that they will make a move because they're like, if it wasn't for the Flames sucking, they wouldn't be a playoff team. And two, you've got 3 years left of McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, you got to fucking do something with that time.
Yeah, and like looking at those things too, I think the max they can have is $15 million a year. Are they getting that? Are you paying $30 million for those two superstars in 3 years?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
you
right?
really are.
Yeah. I think two things that have come out actually in the last week, just with Edmonton Oilers, that we didn't get to touch on yet. It looked like Pujarvi is spiraling. He is not having a good time. He needs somebody in that locker room to put his arm around him and just have him a talk and say, let's go, like, let's play tonight. Let's get you a goal. Let's get Pujarvi a goal or something like that, right? Yeah. Like, it's just... Is he an NHL player?
I think he is, but I just, for whatever reason, it's not working with McDavid this year. Like, their metrics suffer. I think they've got, like, those two, when they're on the ice together, I want to say, I know plus minus isn't a great fucking indicator, but they're -5. Like, they've scored one goal together and they've been scored on 6 times. So that's not a good look for one of the best players in the league being paired with somebody who is supposed to be an above-average top 6 forward. But from what my understanding of the situation is the Oilers are not willing to sell low on Puljujärvi, so they're hoping that he somehow recaptures magic so they can get more in a return. But I think at this point, like, the ship's sinking, man. Like, at what point does he just say fuck it and go back to Finland? Because I could see that being a very real possibility.
Well, and that's a shitty situation to be in, especially if it's open publicly and it's out there that they want you to play well so we can trade you, right? Work really hard so you can get out of here. And then you're like, well, like, why am I even trying, right? Like, why would I put in the extra effort and you know, have some admiration to kind of get going? I don't think that's a word. Admiration. Okay, cool. Sometimes I make up words. And then the other story that came out was Taylor Hall was cited as a lot of during his time in Edmonton, he found that the criticisms from the media found their way into the locker room and really helped and brought guys down, right? Really affected the team kind of overall. So it's one of those things, and like I see a lot of negativity from Oilers media, right? I know everyone has that, but
Taylor Hall's friend stepped on his head in warm-up, and I still can't get over that. So, you know what, I'll take whatever Taylor Hall says with a grain of salt.
Okay.
His team didn't like him enough that they stepped on his head.
Yeah, that's fair.
With skates on, Mick.
Yeah, not just like without skates, with actual skates on the hockey surface. Yeah,
that Taylor. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's a tough look. So maybe getting rid of him wasn't the end. Other than the MVP trophy, that trade actually wouldn't be horrendous, right? Like, had he not won the MVP the next year, like, you could look back and be like, I'm glad we got rid of Taylor Hall because he kind of sucks. Like, he's actually horrendous. He's an awful hockey player in any other situation. So,
and honestly, there was better players than him. I feel like that award was undeserved. It was kind of like Jose Theodore back in 2001 when Iginla was just so much better than him, but they're like, you know what, we're giving it to Jose Theodore. I can't help but think it's the same. I can't help but get the same feeling with Hall, where it's like even McDavid outscored him that year as a 18 or 19-year-old, and they're like, no, this is Taylor's award.
Yeah, that's weird. That seems strange. Seattle Kraken, the realest 13-year-olds you'll ever meet. They're at 13. Keep scrolling up, get past the Rangers. I completely forgot the Winnipeg Jets were a team. I was ready to find the Leafs somewhere in the top. Wow, Winnipeg Jets at 9. Good job, guys. How are you doing?
I gotta say, I haven't had my finger on the pulse with the Jets, but I have seen. When I looked at the start of the week, they were tops in the Central Division. I was like, wow, and maybe they still are, but I don't know.
We'll see.
Seems weird.
See if anyone else pops up top of them. But like, still a top 9 team in the league. They've just kind of played. Hellebuck has it, and is that the difference? Sometimes goalies can be hot and cold, and obviously he's hot right now, and their forwards are propelling them. And go Winnipeg.
Yeah, a hot goalie makes all the difference,
Mm-hmm.
and Hellebuck he's rebounded from last year's down year.
There you go.
Again, hot goalies rule the world, and he's not cooling off.
There you go. Yeah, we'll see. Get through January. In a month's time, if we can talk about the Winnipeg Jets still hanging around the top 10, I'll take you for real. Because I've seen a lot of really good hockey squads fall apart in January, right? These like hot starts. I wouldn't be surprised if them in a Seattle fall down. But if they can maintain those spots, let's go. Scrolling up, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Carolina, Dallas. Oh, they're at the top of the Central now. Okay. And we get to the top 4 where we see the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yay, Toronto Maple Leafs. Yay.
I'm not done shitting on Taylor Hall here. 5 players outscored him in 2017, 2018, and he still had the most first place votes.
But like, did the Devils go from... Did they like win the lottery the year before and then they like won their division?
I don't know if you want to start this fight right now, Mick. I'm just reigniting my hate for Taylor Hall here. Maybe they did. Maybe I am underselling his value to the team. But, like, he wasn't the best player in the NHL that year.
MVP awards. He won it in... When did he win it?
2017, 2018.
2018. So we want to know what were the 2017/18 NHL standings. Oh, we can do that. We're just talking about the Leafs. They were 5th in the Metropolitan Division. The Capitals had 105 points. Penguins with 100. The Flyers had 98. The Blue Jackets had 97. And the Devils also had 97 points that year. So
how the fuck did this guy win the MVP award, the Hart Trophy? I'm calling shenanigans on this one. We've been bamboozled.
It's a sports narrative. Sometimes people just get bored, right? Arguably, Patrick Mahomes is the MVP of the National Football League, but people are going to make arguments from someone else, right? Like Jokic, Steve Nash. We've seen these guys who have had like their two-peats, the Antetokounmpos of the world, right? Like these guys that win 2 awards, and all of a sudden just a random person wins it, and you're like, the fuck was that? Like they statistically actually better than their MVP seasons. But we can't give it to them. They just get bored, right? So I'm guessing that's what happened. You can't give it to a rookie. You know how much pressure? You know how much pressure you're putting on Connor McDavid if you give him the MVP right now? There's no way he could get like average 100-point seasons his whole career.
Oh man, I just think we're gonna look back with. I hope we look back with regret, especially at the 2017-18 season. Be like, you know what? Connor McDavid outscored Taylor Hall by 15 points. I think that was the year they broke their playoff slump. But they're like, nah, Taylor Hall is the man now.
Stupid.
Anyways.
What a stupid guy. And like,
Stupid.
I don't think I've ever put him on a FanDuel lineup. I do once when I'm like, oh, Taylor Hall, that guy's he's an MVP. And he does nothing. He gets 0.1 points. And I'm like, how did you do that? How did you get 0.1 point? Like, okay, Toronto Maple Leafs. They were winning. And they kept winning, and then they kind of kept winning, and then they lost to the Rangers. And I think that ended Marner's point streak he broke the record. He surpassed it up into the 23s or something like that.
I would love to talk about Marner, but I think the credit is I need to walk back some statements from earlier in this year. Leafs goaltending, they had back-to-back shutouts. And I think they allowed, 4 goals across 5 games or something like that? Like, up until maybe the most recent outing. I don't know. Seems funky. It doesn't feel right.
Not only that, but like you're like, oh, the goaltending is great. But I'm like, I've always said like, goaltending will take care of itself because defensively, their core is like very, very good, right? The Rileys, the Brodies, the Muzzins, like those guys give you exceptional. Like, and these guys are not talked about. They're all hurt. They haven't played in 5 weeks. Mark Giordano is averaging 26 minutes a game. Him and Justin Hall now are the two best players, right? Like Lindgren, Sandin, these guys have all stepped in. Connor Timmins. Who the hell's Connor Timmins? He's coming in and like providing them with meaningful minutes. I think he has like five points in 5 games or something since joining this Leaf squad. Connor Timmins. Who the fuck's Connor Timmins?
Nobody knows who Connor Timmins is.
No.
But so I did a little bit of a dive into the 5 oldest. Oh, there goes my pen. 5 oldest NHL players, and I think Mark Giordano was the second oldest. You know what makes his journey so incredible? This man went undrafted. He basically earned his way back onto an NHL roster. Eventually won a Norris and captained the Flames for, was it 8 seasons? And he's still playing at age 39. I was like, that's a fucking hell of a trek, man. Most people can't do that.
Yeah. Well, and like, again, not just playing bottom pairing minutes or like he's their healthy scratch once in a while. Like he's playing top line minutes right now, providing meaningful impacts. And there was a hit on Matthews in one of their games when they were struggling. And Giordano comes flying in the video I've seen and takes this guy out. And it just almost like sparked the team. And they said, oh, hey, we can stand up to ourselves. We can fight for ourselves. Like there's, we don't just have to be these passive pushovers. And he's almost changed like the culture of the team. And now they're kind of, they stand up to themselves, right? Like they have dirty hits. They throw their bodies around. They don't just kind of get pushed around right now. Like he's kind of changed the whole culture of this Toronto Maple Leaf squad. It's exceptional, right? For whatever they gave him, like his veteran minimum contract for 2 seasons. Like he could have made $10 million. Like he probably left $9 million on the table. Someone would have gave him $5 million for a couple seasons.
You know what the saddest part about this story is that Mark Giordano has to live like a peasant in Toronto, Calgary, Canada's greatest city, because he's earning like literally 1/10 of what Mitch Marner is making.
I mean, still $500,000 is a lot of money, and like he's made millions.
Not Toronto.
Yeah, but like
my God,
he's made
this
lots
man
of.
Probably has to go to the food bank.
It's true. It's true. He actually can't afford a car, but he has a driver's license, so he just drives around Justin Hall's car.
Hey, Halsey, want to go to the food bank with me? I'll drive your car.
Your car, because you don't have a license, so I'll drive you around, and that's how it works. Oh, good times.
But I disrupted your momentum with Marner and the forward group. They continue to do good things.
Yeah, they play well. I mean, maybe just defensively, too. I will, again, allude. McDavid, Draisaitl, probably the 2 best players in hockey, right? Offensively, you're not getting better than that. I don't know if they provide the same level of, like, their game is all-rounded as the Marner and Austin Matthews, right? Like, defensively, those 2 guys should be in a Selke conversation, right? Like, the way that they're out there, they defend on the ice. So I think their defensive system is, like, forward-back almost, right? So I think what they get defensively from their forwards helps alleviate a little bit of pressure on their defense, right? And we're seeing that with these big injuries to their kind of key guys.
Yeah, I would say that's a fair. I've always talked about how complete Mitch Marner's game is. Mm-hmm. I think he's finally getting credit for it, so I'm happy to see that. Matthews deserves some kudos in that regard too. He is a responsible player in both ends of the ice. So, anyways, we're gonna have these conversations all regular season and see what happens in the postseason.
Yeah, there you go. We needed some Mark Giordano love because we need something else to kind of talk about. But I mean, it's the conversation we've been having now since like November onwards, and I don't think it's going to stop. Right? Like,
yeah,
not
anytime soon.
No. Speaking of the Toronto Maple Leafs, though, they are playing the Washington Capitals tonight, and in honor of, I got my Ovechkin jersey on. You can see my big Washington Capitals flag there. The Great 8 broke 800 goals since we last spoke.
You breezed past them in the stand. I guess it's like is now the time to do it? But I had this conversation at some point earlier this week. Maybe it was last week even. It pains me to say this because I've spent a lot of time hating on Alex Ovechkin. He is the greatest goal scorer in hockey, bar none.
We had the conversation a couple years ago. Can he do it? Can he beat Gretzky, right? He needs to have 5 more 50-goal seasons or whatever the math was that we calculated. He's within 100. The team seems very goal-focused, at least him getting over Howe, right? He's at like 8-1 right now. He needs 1 or 2 goals or something like that. He might do it this weekend. They've got a primetime game against Toronto tonight. Ovi might be going for Howe tonight, which is going to be a big moment, and then it's just chip away at Gretzky, right? Can he have 3 more 30-goal seasons? Probably, right? Like, I don't think that's unrealistic, and their owner said that they're not going to rebuild. They're going to try and keep winning until Ovi gets at least the record, right? So they're going to kind of keep adding pieces. They're not going to tank. They're not going to sell off pieces. They're going to be competitive up until Ovechkin passes the record and decides to leave the organization. So it'll be a fun, slow watch for the next kind of 100 soul goals. But I don't know. I think we are witnessing in our adult lives the greatest NHL goal scorer of all time. And that's kind of a cool thing to have lived through and watched and followed.
Yeah. 3.5 years left to accomplish the feat. It seems like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
He's going to break it.
Yeah. And like we were saying, like, could he do this? I think 30-goal seasons from Ovechkin, based on the fact that he's like had a hat trick. He's had like 7 goals in the last, like, since he was close. So like, oh, did you know he was close? And then in 3 games, he gets 7 goals. And you're like, all right. He's very, very close at this point, right? Like, wow. Good for you.
So one thing that I am interested to see, because he said this in an interview a little while ago, if he ever breaks a record, he says he's skating right off the ice. Do you think Alex Ovechkin is a man of his word, or is he another Russian fraud?
100% he's a fraud. Do you remember that time that he like had that goal and he pretended his stick was on fire and we all ostracized him and said like, oh, there's not room for personality in hockey? Fuck off, Don Cherry. Get the fuck out of here with your old takes, you old bastard. God damn it.
We're just opening up all the sore wounds today.
Yeah, we literally are having, like, we're not just having a worse, like, year day, we're having, like, a worse life. Like, everything that's ever pissed us off in hockey in the last 10 years, let's talk about it today.
Yeah, let's fucking dig in. Let's dig in with knives.
Oh, yeah, get that bullet out. God damn. All right, so, there we go. So as we continue to watch, oh, look, I even have an Ovechkin thing right there, too. Huh.
Yeah, there you go.
I stay on brand. Good job, me. I think that wraps up headlines. We're all caught up. The next couple weeks, I kind of always feel like hockey gets kind of goofy. Like, they should give them... Do they get a Christmas break? I don't think they do. Like, other than a couple days, right? Like, they should get a week off. Everyone loves a week off at Christmas.
It's, yeah, like just 2 days. But there is a holiday freeze on transactions. I don't even know. Maybe we're already in that. If not, we're getting close. But basically, no trades for 2 weeks, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. Gives you less to focus on, think about. We already made fun of NHL's fantasy things. I'll write that down. That means we're done that at the 43-minute mark. I think we're gonna be a long one today, guys. This is kind of like our year-end show too.
It really is. We got nothing else to do, anyways.
Yeah, I have like a thing at 7. So if we talk for the next 8 hours, I'll be late.
Well, send the warning now. Say we've got some momentum with the Canada Puck podcast.
Guys, we're breaking up every individual game. One of the things I would love to do is I'd love to see, not to, like, we're talking about lots of ex-Oilers on this episode. I would love to see how many multiple goal games Wayne Gretzky played in. So let's say, like, winning games of 3 or more goals, right? Where let's say he's like running up the score versus Ovechkin. Because I kind of feel like the Oilers probably scored a lot more compared to the rest of the league.
It's so tough to compare generations.
Well, so here, there's actually, I was watching this. We were talking about tweets of the week a couple weeks ago, saying we're going to do that. The Hockey Samurai had posted yesterday. I did like it. There's a foot race between Wayne Gretzky, Pele, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Bjorn Borg. It's a 100-meter dash. Gretzky finishes like 12 seconds ahead of everyone else. So I think being just an exceptional athlete back in the day, Gretzky probably like drank carrot juice. He probably went to bed on time. He probably just didn't drink and do cocaine all the time. Like, he was really good. But also, he played in an era where like smoking and drinking between periods was like normal. So
maybe that's why they traded him. He wasn't doing enough cocaine. He's making Grant Fuhr feel weird in the dressing room.
Yeah, he's like, you sit there and you just listen to the media all the time and you don't let the negativity come to you. Do cocaine with us to cheer us up. It can wreck guys' lives. People want to get traded in the future because how negative the media is in the city.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
FanDuel, we're going to give you some fantasy advice. So there you go. So you listen to our opinions on tons of things. Let's do our little fantasy thing, our gambling thing, maybe the week. Maybe we'll do like a year-end thing. If you want to talk, like, do a wrap-up of other stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see where the wind carries us, that's for sure.
See if we get bored of talking to each other.
It's been a journey with DFS for myself over the last couple weeks. Things are surprisingly going well, knock on wood.
Okay.
How'd you do? So we're reconvening from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. 2 weeks ago, I did not cash in. I was 27th out of my 50 people. However, I did not check, and I clearly stated that I want the Carolina Hurricanes starting goalie. I started Antti Ranta, the same mistake that Grant made, and I just didn't change it. I believe whoever his replacement was got him 30 points. The 30 points would have pushed me into doubling my money. So I didn't do terrible. Lindholm produced, Aho. I had Patrick Kane, who was super cheap. He got 35 points. That was a great pickup. Lots of my scrubs did nothing, kind of expected. But I basically lost my 0 from my goalie. They were the same price. Just let me say, like, Carolina starting goalie, FanDuel.
Yeah,
like that's clearly who I wanted. Like, I'm not starting no one.
Yeah, I wish it was that easy. But I can lament because I had that happen to me at least 3 times throughout the season already, where you said it, you forget it, and then all of a sudden you regret it. So. Me, I finished 6th out of 714. It was only a $1 contest, so I turned $1 into 10.
Sweet.
As expected, there were some high performers. Oilers stack paid off well. McDavid and Draisaitl each had at least 43 points. Stuart Skinner got the win with 24 points. Brian Rust, 44-point effort. Mangiapane, 30-point effort. And Michael Bunting had 9.6 points. If I would have found a different defenseman, and maybe I should have looked into this before the show, but Liljegren. I had fucking Liljegren, and we talked about, who did we both have? We both had
Sandin?
I think it was a Canes defenseman.
They didn't do much. I believe my defenseman got me like 3 points, so.
All right. Well, might not have made a difference, but.
Here, I can go back. If we do December, back to that one that I sucked at. View. Yeah, who is it? Load screen. Jakub Slavin, 1.6 points.
All right. Well, I'm just checking here. I want to see if that would have put me above anybody else. You know what? It's going to take me a while to get back there.
All right. Last week, we did not have a show, but I made a lineup. I made some bets. Our technical difficulty saved my butt because I absolutely sucked. I put an entry. It got 41 out of 45 people. I had 68 points. My high point getter was Mike Hoffman with 16.8 points. I don't know.
Well, we've all been there.
Yeah, I don't know where I was at. I knew there was going to be lots of goals scored from the Calgary side in the Calgary-Toronto game, and I just didn't pick any Flames that did anything. So, and all my Montreal Canadiens against the Kings picks did nothing. All the picks I wrote down on my paper that I didn't get to tell you all bottomed out. So, all in all, did all right. Technical difficulties played in my favor. So,
1.6 points would have got me within 0.5 points of top 5. It would have been an extra $5. But anyways, wasn't meant to be. Maybe one of these days.
Okay, there you go. But for today, let's not look at behind us. Let's look ahead. What do you got going on today? Because I've got a interesting squad that I threw together this morning.
I I don't know how I feel about this. I was slapping it together. I was like,
Yeah.
So I'll start at the top. There was very limited rhyme or reason to this. I thought maybe I was going to go with a shark stack, surprisingly, but I only ended up with 2 sharks. So it's just then I thought Leafs. I ended up with 2 Leafs. Anyways, here we go. Morgan Frost, Philadelphia Flyers at home. Who are they playing? It escapes me now. But Frost gets power play time. He's affordable. I figured with the way that my wingers had gone, I needed to save money up front. He was one of the guys. The other guy I saved money with up front was Carolina Hurricane center Jesperi Kotkaniemi. But this is where things go a little. This is where I splurge, and that is, I believe that Ovechkin is due for. He's going to ride this wave. He's at home. It's Hockey Night in Canada. This is going to be one of those where were you moments. I bet you he breaks Gordie Howe's record tonight. Have Ovechkin. But I know that the Leafs will have a response, so I have Marner and Sandin. We talked about Sandin, where it's just like, I don't know, him being undervalued, but I'm hoping for big things from him. Vlasic was the Sharks defenseman I ended up going with. My 2 utility spots, Cole Caulfield, Blake Wheeler. Jets are in Vancouver. I don't know what's going on in Vancouver, but I know that Jets are having a good time scoring, so I am expecting Wheeler to show up. Caulfield is basically driving the Habs offense. And James Reimer, $6,800. I know that this is the Optimus rhyme of old, but at the same time, $6,800 is a very affordable goalie, and the betting line hasn't shifted that far. Like, it's not as steep as you would think, so I figured, what the hell, let's do Sharks.
All right, sweet. Well, myself, I'm going to start on the back end. I went with Igor Shesterkin in net, but as I'm looking, expected goalie is Halak. I don't know if I love Yaroslav Halak, but I don't know. I feel like the Flyers, bottom team, Rangers playing pretty good hockey. Maybe we'll get a win there. That's really what I'm going for. I also, for some reason, did not spend a lot of money on my centers. I will have Dylan Strome, number 1 center for the Washington Capitals, $5,700. It's not horrendous. Maybe he passes the puck to somebody tonight. Matthew Barzal also at $6,600 against the Knights. I think the Islanders can score. I don't think Vegas is a shutdown team for a top player for $6,600. I don't hate that value. I also have Ovechkin paired with Marner. So I don't know if that's bad.
It sounds terrible. I might change my lineup.
Yeah, that's a lot of money dedicated to those 2 players. But like Grant alluded to, Ovechkin likes some limelight, likes a spotlight. There's a big spotlight on him tonight. If sports were ever rigged and they wanted to tell a story, Ovechkin beating Howe against the Leafs on Hockey Night in Canada is poetry. Oh, it is just such a beautiful thing that could happen. So I'm kind of betting on that one. There we go. Also have Rasmus Sandin at $3,900. I love the value. He's just almost a staple, right? When I start up FanDuel, I wish I could just have him pasted written because it's very, very good value from a defenseman. Defensemen seem very random. I also went with Ethan Bear, Vancouver, playing the Jets tonight. $4,100. I recognize the name, and that's kind of how I put out the bottom. Last 2 players that you do not know about. Eric Stahl plays 3rd-line center for Florida. They're playing the Devils tonight. And the Devils are good. They don't let up a lot of goals, but once in a while you see Eric Stahl's name pop up. Maybe he does something fun. And then Michael Bunting. Sometimes he's frisky. Sometimes he throws... I know he just scored against the Rangers. He doesn't score a lot in back-to-back games, but I don't know. Maybe we have a shootout tonight in a Hockey Night in Canada, and I want a piece of that. And for $4,900, not terrible. Plays with Matthews. Maybe he passes to Matthews, and Matthews scores a goal.
And that's the underlying value with these, secondary contributors on top line. Michael Bunting, whoever's skating next to Draisaitl or McDavid.
Last week, going into the Calgary game, my greatest fault of a sports fan is I just assume I'm in doom and gloom. I know the sky is falling, so I'm going to try and make money off that sky that is falling on me. And that's how I always look at the Leafs offense. They're going to go dry. They're not going to score any goals, right? I had Nylander in my lineup last week, the one I lost that I didn't get to talk about, because I was he goes off once in a while. He had a 2-goal night, maybe 3-4 points or something like that. He just went unwild. But I couldn't go with that thought. I had to counteract it. So keeping Bunting Marner is kind of me being like, maybe the Leafs are good and I should take advantage of their offense while it's there rather than just assume everyone's legs are going to fall off, right? Like,
I don't like they were both on Marner and Sandine. The more that I think about it, I might have to adjust my lineup. You could have them. I think there's going to be goals scored, but
okay, cool.
We always tempt the universe, and it ends terribly.
It's a cold, cold mistress, but maybe we'll do all right. I won't be checking back for a couple weeks, so we won't take blame or credit from this one. What we can do is we can keep tabs on our Bettor Advice, where we have to take $100 theoretical dollars every week, bet it on an assortment of games, 1 game, 15 games, I don't care. 15 games would be, I don't know, kind of interesting. And go from there. Keep tabs how we're doing. I think I went perfect on our last show. I think I hit all 4 of my picks, something like that. Brought up my total to, I'm at up $217 on the year. Grant, how'd you do?
I also had a good showing. Ottawa, San Jose over 6.5 hit. Tampa Bay, Toronto went to overtime. LA couldn't get it done at home against the Canes. Brought my yearly total up to $590.
Nice. Okay. All right. So we're rocking and rolling. Today I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks, but I could do 2 at once and 1 is kind of just a throwaway. So I could have like 5 or 3 picks.
I have 4, so you go ahead. You let her rip.
Woohoo! All right. Let's do... Grant kind of alluded to this one. I'm going to steal his thunder before he has a chance because he stole Ovechkin and Marner from me on the last one. Although it was on my screen, so it kind of looks like I didn't cheat. We've got the Buffalo Sabres minus a goal against the Coyotes tonight. Come on, Tage Thompson. Let's do something. 1.76. I'm going to put $30 on that to try and get $50 back.
Damn. All right. I'm going to open with this one because it's already started. Wings were underdogs on home ice against the Ottawa Senators. It did not make sense to me. Granted, they were minus 106. I still couldn't get my head around it. Detroit's a really good team, especially on home ice, and Ottawa's success has been intermittent. So $30 to win $28.30.
Sweet. Drake Batherson scored. I just checked the scores there. That's what we need. We need more Senators in like this 5 o'clock slot or 7 o'clock slot, whatever you want to refer to it as. Because like, I forgot about Drake Batherson. Love that guy. I also have $30 on the Rangers minus 1 goal against the Flyers. I feel like the Flyers kind of suck. Rangers can find the back of that if tempted. So another $30 on the Rangers minus 1.5 goals.
I will say this. One of us is going to end tonight on a good note because I am on the Flyers at plus 138. I don't trust New York's goaltending. I know Shesterkin's kind of fallen. It doesn't matter if it's Shesterkin or Lack, but the Rangers don't have it this year. Flyers plus 138. They don't have a whole bunch of winnable games, but this feels like one of them. $30 to win 41.40.
All right, sweet. So then I'm going to do 5. So I have 2. I have an overtime. Dallas Stars at the Carolina Hurricanes. I'm going to take 4-1, put $15 on that bad boy.
I was looking at that game. That one tickled my fantasy. I went a little. I kept changing my mind leading up to this show. Even while we were talking earlier, I was like, I don't know about this one. Anyways, where I landed with my overtime game, Nashville, Colorado, plus 330, $30 to win 99.
Sweet. My other overtime pick, because I like the Florida Panthers and the New Jersey Devils. In theory, they should both be quality squads, built fairly well, top to bottom. I want them to go to overtime, too. I also get 4-1 odds on that bad boy. So another $15 on that affair. All
right. So my last pick, it's a 4-game parlay. So the 3 games we just talked about. But I also mixed in. So I originally penciled in San Jose, LA going to overtime. But then I was like, I talked myself out of it. Islanders, Knights, back end of a second night of a back-to-back, I should say, for the Islanders. And the price is a little curious. You think that the Knights would be a little bit steeper priced in this scenario, but that kind of makes me think maybe somebody knows something I don't know. So it just, for me, it's got a weird, funny feeling. I was like, you know what? Maybe this one goes to overtime. So that was also plus 330. Adding all four of those wagers, I've got $10 left. $10 to win $845.21.
Sweet. Yeah, I could do something similar. My parlay at the bottom of the screen here, 121 to 1. So $5, you can win $600. I'm not going to do that though. But I have noticed that the numbers I wrote down on my have actually changed. So Sabres are now, looks like the lines are shifting a little bit in favors against my picks. So that is a great sign. And you should never fear when random large amounts of money change lines during the day. All right, cool. Last pick, I like the Capitals to win for $10. Just over 2 to 1. Emotionally hedging. Yeah,
emotional hedge. It also kind of feels like the right spot to be on. It would feel weird if Ovechkin broke the record and they went on to lose. Maybe it happens. I don't know. I hate narrative-based approach to anything, but it doesn't matter. Yeah,
it seems so clean and it's just so beautiful. And I can watch. I think my one fantasy matchup I'm playing this week includes the Dolphins and the Bills. Pretty much they have like 5 players from that guy of the 8 players. So if there's a lot of snow and Josh Allen and Tua do nothing tonight, I might win my fantasy playoff matchup without even doing anything. So
yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Just sit there and watch the snow fall and 3 points go on the board by half.
7-3 end kind of thing. I'd be like, perfect. That's great. That's exactly what I needed. His projections are like 50 points. And I was like, perfect. Tom Brady could do that by himself. Tom Brady sucks.
Terrific Tom, hey?
Terrific Tom. Okay, I don't need that. That's it. An hour. I really thought we were going for like a record. How slow we were moving there. So we really powered through those last couple little sections.
But we're not done just yet. Because the Canada Puck podcast would not be the puck. Oh, she disappeared. The Canada Puck podcast without our babe of the week. Sorry, I had it open on Instagram and now she's gone. Let me just get back here. Where'd she go? Oh, don't panic, Grant.
It'll be all right.
Maybe I went past it here. Is that it?
Ooh, I like
this lady. I found her. This lady earns extra bonus points because she's just got the best last name. Goalie, Ohio State goaltender, number 35, Quinn Kuntz. QuinnKuntz.
Quinn Kuntz. There you go. Look at that. Yeah.
My God, this lady is just all sorts of all right. Makes me wish that I went to Ohio State, I'll say that much, but even then.
I imagine she's going to have a very hard life. I imagine people that look as beautiful as her suffer a lot, so good job.
We'll pray for Quinn Kuntz then.
Yeah, poor Quinn Kuntz.
She is our babe of the week, shall we?
Solid. There you go. So that wraps up our show for this week. We're off the next 2 weeks. We'll be back January 7th, tentatively, right now. And that's it. So if you're an avid listener and you listen just to Canada Puck and that's what you come for, great. Me and Grant, we're going to go we're going to overtime. Guys, we tied. We have a first overtime of the year. Didn't see it coming. Old school. If you listen to us from the very beginning, we used to do a Canada Puck wrap-up where we talk about just other sports. We kind of do a little run-through, and I think every other week is how it worked. We do like a live show, and then we do kind of like our backlog show. So the next week we'd have like a little show pop up. Not a terrible idea. I mean, it was always out of date, but not a terrible idea.
Good in theory. Yeah. Good in theory.
Yeah. So with that, wrap-up style, year-end review. Do you have like just off the cuff? I don't have anything prepared for this. Do you have like a favorite NHL sports moment of the year?
Favorite NHL moment of the year. That's tough.
We can end with it. We can go to a different sport if you prefer.
Let's do a different sport.
All right. Well, let's do one that. Would you have like an MLB? Well, let's start with baseball. Do you have a favorite baseball moment of the year?
So this one is personal baseball moment of the year was actually getting to go to the Trop. I went to Florida.
Right.
I mentioned this actually earlier in this episode. Spent time in Florida back in September. Jays versus Rays. I would say getting to see that shitty stadium in person was probably one of the highlights
Sweet.
of the year for me. But we got there on Thursday, or was it Friday? Anyways, it doesn't matter. We got there on a day, the day of game one. It might have been Thursday. And we're walking around the stadium, getting the lay of the land. And lo and behold, Alek Manoah was walking into the stadium as we were doing a lap around the building. So that was a pretty cool experience. But that, you know what, that takes a cake for me. Kind of personal. Like, It's not like a baseball moment per se, but for me, that was highlight of baseball year for me.
Solid. For myself, it has to be that Blue Jays playoff series against the Mariners, right? That especially the second game, whatever that was on the Saturday, they were up multiple runs at least. I'm thinking 3, 4, 5 runs, and they pull their starting pitcher early, and their bullpen just starts bleeding runs. I emotionally hedge, as I tend to do, so I already had money on the Mariners. I believe at that point I had this sneaking feeling, and I was like, I'm gonna put another $10 on the Mariners at this point just to be safe, because I feel like bad things are coming. Lo and behold, I think I was watching it in my car while my wife was delivering some cakes for something like that, and I made some money. It was kind of a funny story. Like, I knew the Blue Jays weren't winning the World Series, and I kind of like if your team's not going to win, like, you should lose in the worst way possible. Like, I want, like, your, like, next week to just be destroyed because of that loss. That's how I, like, expect my life to go. And I made some money off of it, so what a terrible 2-game series that was.
I'm not a Jays fan, but the feelings of watching that happen, I was like, I am not bringing this up to Jays fans unless they bring it up to me, because it was like, what a disaster. Like, what a disastrous way to lose a baseball game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, they got rid of their manager mid-season. They had they weren't great. That the collision between Bichette and Springer, and now Springer's, like, may not play. Like, they're asking questions like, are they going to play next year? It's not what you want, right? Like, that's kind of a rough way to, literally the worst way you could go out almost, right? So,
yeah, that's probably
like your marathon that you're running. You tripped at the finish line, you shit yourself, you scraped up your face somehow. Your poop got into scrapes on your face, and now you're standing there going across the finish line, like, crying, poop on your face. And it hurts and it stings.
Yeah.
Beautiful what happened.
That's why we do what we love.
That's it. I'm like, that's why I follow sports, because, like, it sucks. And again, Blue Jays are very, like, they're a national team, so even people that don't care, like, don't watch baseball ever, they're like, oh, the Blue Jays are playing, I'll pay attention. And that's what you get, Canada. Love it. That's so good. International sports, I believe we had an Olympics this year, as well as there's a World Cup. There was a World Juniors tournament that randomly was played in August.
That was probably my least favorite of any sporting event this year. How do you get amped up for a World Junior tournament in August? Like, half of it, not even, it's the feeling of waking up on Boxing Day and being like, I get to watch some of the best hockey of the year today.
Great, awesome. That's what I love. It's that thing you get to kind of follow tertiarily over the holidays, right? If you don't have plans, it's a fun thing to have. Christmas, New Year's Eve game, right? Always have that on the television. You can sit around and have a couple beers while you watch that. But yeah, I didn't know until the finals that it was actually the World Juniors. I thought it was just some random U18 tournament that everyone was talking about. But I was like, oh, it got canceled because of COVID. And I was like, well, then just don't have it. Like, why specifically do these players, like, why did Connor Bedard need to play a tournament only to play again in 4 months? Like, what's changing 4 months later? In a kid's life, a year, there is tons of development that can happen in these programs. But in 4 months, I don't know if there's going to be anything substantial. So is Canada just going to win the gold medal again? And we're going to be like,
I don't know.
Right? Like,
I do think that there's a little bit more to look forward to, and maybe it's just the nostalgia of the tournament being played at the right time. But like, it is a nice. Very few people, I should say that. Some people don't work over the holidays, and it's nice to just be able to sit at home any time of day and be able to watch a hockey game. Doesn't matter what. And like that's not like the NHL's way of really doing things.
Yeah.
But that's what's an inevitable consequence of these tournaments, is that there's a lot of daytime hockey. So I don't know. I look forward to it this time of year.
Again, yeah, great, awesome. Also, the fact that this summer there was lots of allegations against Hockey Canada, specifically the junior program, with some sexual misconduct things that have happened in the past, and they said, Poppy, those guys are old now. You can't punish these guys in their 30s or 20s when they were 17. It's water under the bridge. I imagine there's still a lot of morally incomparable things that happen. That it was a bad look, and with all these allegations, why did you play that tournament as Hockey Canada? Like, why wouldn't you have said, look, guys, it's the middle of the summer, no one fucking cares, it doesn't matter, these kids don't get to play, that's fine, we will withdraw ourselves from the tournament, run the tournament without Team Canada, we're going to take a self-imposed suspension as we look into allegations. You know how great you would have looked going into this upcoming World Junior tournament that starts in 9 days. We would be like, awesome, they served their suspension, they learned their lesson, they're going to make amends, they're going to be better. But I do feel like there's this weird smear against Hockey Canada at the moment, and they looked kind of like a little bit of a corrupt organization, and you're going to reward them with multiple gold medals without any punishment. I don't know. It just...
Honestly, the shoe fits in this scenario. Like, Canada and Hockey Canada handled this so poorly, and they said to sit back and hear the bigwigs talk about how they believe in the organization and how everything's going well, and it was just a couple incidents. Like, my fuck, like, you know what? I don't know how corrupt the IHF is, but I just knew that Hockey Canada, listening to how people were addressing it at the time, like, this didn't matter to them, and it doesn't matter to them now. So.
No, but it was such an easy out. Right, to say, we're not going to play in this tournament in the summer. No sweat off your back, and like, it would look so much better. And it's just the optics of that, right? And these big organizations don't get that, right? And that pisses me off, right? But I mean, other options. We're going to talk about the IOC. Well, there's another corrupt organization, like they're corrupt, like FIFA, like. So I mean, I guess, like you said, the shoe fits, right? World Cup is wrapping up tomorrow, so Messi or France.
I think this is Messi's send-off. Like, you can't help but think that this guy just deserves to walk off the pitch champion. Maybe I'm wrong. After, like, especially everything that he's been through, like, he quit the team, the national team, what was that, 4 or 5 years ago? He's just like, fuck you guys. You guys just shit on me every time I play with these guys, and things aren't going well. I think that he deserves it more than France deserves it, but I don't know. Narratives don't win games, and France is the best team, and that's why they're favored.
Well, except you can get better odds. No, Argentina's like, there's enough money that they're trying to like push you to bet on France. So I don't know exactly what's going on. If I get up at 8 tomorrow, I might get something fun to watch. All right, what else? What have we talked about? Basketball. Do you have a favorite basketball moment from the year?
So basketball is probably the one sport that I follow the least. But I did look into point guards earlier this year. I've been following, I guess, point guards more closely this year. And I would, like, Luka Doncic, which without question is I think he's the MVP of the league, and I don't know why he doesn't have a trophy yet. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is third. Was he third or second? Anyway, he's up there in league scoring. And Oklahoma City always sucks. So for this guy to not single-handedly turn around a program, but to be basically the big piece in the next steps, that kind of made, as a Canadian, I was like, you know what, good for this guy. And Canadians in general seem to be not taking over the league, but making more of an impact.
Very, very much so. You want to talk about NBA Finals, like, how did the Golden State Warriors overcome the Boston Celtics and win, continue the dynasty, it was basically Andrew Wiggins, right? Like, between the Steph Currys and the Jason Tatums, who are talked about as the best players in the world, outside of maybe like a Kevin Durant, a LeBron, a Giannis, Wiggins for some reason stood up and he's like, okay, I'm gonna be the second best player on the floor right now while I'm playing with these legendary characters and kind of get to raise my first championship, right? So yeah, Canada basketball doesn't look terrible, right? Like, the program has its flaws. Not everyone commits to it, right? But if we did get a commitment from these guys, like, Canada basketball would be decent, and they should be able to like challenge for a top spot, even maybe a medal in the next couple Olympics. And that's cool to see, right? We mentioned Steve Nash at some point earlier in the podcast, right? And at one point it was just kind of Steve Nash and some plumbers, and he would pay for guys tickets, and he's like, "Hey guys, I'll buy you some meals while we're here," because like Basketball Canada can't give you a per diem, right? Like, they don't have enough money. So it's come a little bit of a ways. It's good to see the program's growing.
Yeah. What about you? Standout NBA moment?
I feel like I made a bunch of money betting against the Boston Celtics at some point, because for some reason I just kind of hate the Boston Celtics. Like, there's certain squads that I just don't like. For some reason I hate them. So I was happy to see them lose. Made me made me feel good. But other than that, Scotty Barnes won Rookie of the Year.
Oh, yeah, that's a good moment for Raptors fans, for sure.
He went up against Durant. They lost in the end, but like, he went toe-to-toe with Kevin Durant last night. I might have been a little drunk and bought a Scotty Barnes rookie card, so... I think I won $10 betting on the Nets, and I was like, I'm going to splurge and spend like $110 on this rookie card. That's a good investment.
Old Mick never gets caught up in the heat of the moment, that's for sure.
No, not this cowboy. What else we got? Football. Do you have a favorite football moment of the year?
So this might not even just be my favorite football moment. This might have been my favorite sports moment of the last year. And it was the Buffalo Bills versus Kansas City Chiefs in overtime. I think that was probably the most entertaining game I had seen, maybe even in the last 10 years. Like, that was one of those ones where, like, you remember watching it, kind of like Boise State in the Fiesta Bowl back in 2000, against Oklahoma back in 2005, 2006, whatever that was. That game, the Chiefs-Bills, was one of those games where I was like, this is an all-timer.
Yeah, I went back and forth, and I am kind of an emotional monster of a person. I don't have elicit a lot of outward emotion. The last week, Leafs Flames on the TV, wife sitting on the couch beside me playing on her phone, overtime, Leafs score. I pick up my phone, do something else, change the channel, and at one point she looks over and looks at the TV and she's like, "Wait, the game's over? What happened?" I was like, "Oh, Leafs won." She's like, "You did nothing." Like, there was no like, "Oh, yay," or like, "Good job," or any just very much like, that is a thing that happened. All right, I will move on with my life. That Buffalo Bills Chiefs game elicited the "ohs," "oh," "ahs" from me. Again, not one of those people that I don't do a lot of those, so that brought that out of me. I kind of have to concur that was a top sports moment, a top football moment, right? We saw two powerhouses. Are we seeing it again this upcoming year? Hopefully, right? They changed the damn rule. They changed the overtime rule because of that game, right? Because we wanted more. The fans were denied, and the NFL says, no. You guys get what you want.
This is, imagine a Final Four that feature, AFC Final Four that features Kansas City, Buffalo, Cincinnati, maybe the Chargers. I don't know. I'm staying away from the AFC South because they fucking suck. But like, anyways, it's going to be another rodeo heading into this year's postseason, and football fans have a lot to look forward to. Actually, even in the NFC, the NFC is going to be a hell of a battle.
Sweet, cool, yo. And is that that one, international, and then hockey?
I'm still struggling to come up with something, and really, it's coming out of a feeling of resentment because going back to last year's postseason, which is generally where I would say the most excitement happens. I was disappointed. I wasn't looking forward to either the Colorado Avalanche or the Tampa Bay Lightning winning. Lightning have this like dynasty and you hate cheering for teams that have already been there. And for some reason, I just want to punch Nathan McKinnon in the fucking teeth. And I don't think that he deserves anything nice. Like, he just seems like a dick. Like, he seems like a guy you'd go to Denny's and you'd throw a stick of butter at him and just be like, you're a fucking nerd.
He does not deserve nice things in the slightest. The fact that he reprimanded his teammates for having sugar in their diet, right? I get it. You're a health nut. That's part of your game. But, like, if these guys are keeping up with you and they're eating sugar, maybe you're nothing special. Right, like, you know what I mean? Like, you could be an evil robot person that, like, only does X to get you to that top level. Well, like, if somebody sitting beside you, like, eats a donut every day or, like, has a hot dog and as they leave their apartment but still puts up, 30, 40 goals in a season, let them Kessel, as the saying is.
Let them Kessel. Oh, man. Yeah, it's something that chapped my ass, too. Who was it? Christopher Stieg was shitting on Phil Kessel about eating a bowl of cheese pregame. It was like, fuck you, Christopher Stieg. Like, I was going to say, how many cups do you have? But I know that he has a couple. But Phil Kessel, man, Iron Man. Mm-hmm. He's eating hot dogs at the Stanley Cups just to prove a point. And he's all doing it. He survived Toronto, I will say that.
Yeah.
He did this while getting shit on in Toronto and came out the other end and still won championships. So I like Phil Kessel.
No shade here with Mr. Phil Kessel. For myself, there was that 2-3 week stretch between Leafs and Lightning, which was a very fun, fast-paced series. Kind of came down right to the wire, right? Some of the better hockey potentially of the playoffs. We saw the Edmonton-Calgary first round. Was kind of exciting. Had like a bit of a pulse. And then we got the Battle of Alberta. And that's probably my top moment of the year, is just that week. Actually, it was only like 8 days because the Oilers fucking stomped the Flames, which was just... It's better. I was working downtown actually during the games, so I had to drive around the Saddle Dome. Just absolute bedlam. There was like the big trucks with the flags. Everyone had their little jerseys on. And then I was working at night, so we also got to go outside and watch all the poor Flames fans hang their head, walk around, be disgruntled. It was delightful. And I enjoy watching the city in misery, so it was nice.
Yeah, me too. I don't get so much joy out of watching people suffer. I don't know what it is.
I'm glad it's not just me, because if you're like, you're a sick, terrible person, I'd be like, yes, I'm starting to believe I probably am. But
I'm gonna qualify that statement and say sports fans suffer. I love watching sports fans suffer because there's just so much joy in seeing other people. One group of fans gets to be happy, everyone else gets to get shit on, and that's the part that makes me happiest, is everybody else who just defends their shitty team's position.
Wait, so my top sports moments were the Calgary Flames were miserable. So I like that. I liked when the Boston Celtics were also miserable. I enjoyed when the Blue Jays fans were miserable. And I loved watching the Buffalo Bills have their like hearts ripped out of their chests there at the end of that game. So, yeah, I am a bit of a masochist. Huh.
You know what? This is the origin story. This is when we look back and say, how did Mick end up this way? Yeah. I'm going to point to episode 8 of the Canada Puck podcast and be like, this was it, guys. We should have saw this coming.
Shit. Huh. Well, I probably should have had something more interesting on the background while we chatted here than just like the scoreboard for the NHL games.
But on that note, who is winning?
Ties in the Senators Red Wing game, and the Bruins are up 1-0. And I believe we're into the first period.
That's all right.
So real time. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Colts are up 23 Cobb on the Vikings here. You seeing this?
Oh, I saw something about Jonathan Taylor was ruled out, and I just assumed... Oh. I didn't realize there was football. There's football going today? This is the best day of my life. 23-0, eh? Huh.
Well, we'll see how that goes. I got Cook in my fantasy lineup, and he's already got a fumble, so screw you, Cook.
Well, that's not fair, though. That's not fair at all. You can't let Jeff Saturday play on his day. It's Jeff Saturday.
It is Jeff Saturday in the most literal sense of the word.
God damn it. We should have saw that coming. Yeah. Third, I don't think they're coming back from that. I'm like, you may put some... What would a Vikings win get you right now?
I'm going to say they're at least plus 450.
It's suspended. Cool.
Maybe somebody just scored.
Thank you, Play Alberta. I can close you. I can close that. I will... Did I write those down already? I did write those down. Okay, cool. Sweet. Yeah, so that wraps up our year 2022 that was... no, not bad. Next year, New Year's resolutions, we might go to a hockey game. That's exciting.
You'll get to watch more people regret their sports fandom decisions.
Yeah.
That's got to tickle a testy.
You know what I'm going to enjoy next year? Ooh, watching all the suffering. That's good. Oh, I just hit my foot so hard. It hurts. I was going to say, next year we should plan to do like a New Year's resolution show. So if you think of any fun New Year's resolutions over the next couple weeks, save those. Maybe write them down, because that's what we'll do on our next show. We'll do a New Year's resolution for all the hockey teams, all the Canadian hockey teams.
I dig it. Can't wait. All right. Well,
cool,
2022. It's been a slice.
Yeah, it has. All right, sweet. Well, with that, I think we say party on, Grant.
Party on, Mick. We'll see everybody next year.